Hello class, it's already fifth class of the semester. So far I have established a few pianistic concepts and have described certain positions and technical patterns as accurate as possible. I must now introduce a formula that is of the most important. I will constantly refer to. It concerns the grouping of notes both musically and technically. This unpretentious word, grouping, applies to many areas of piano playing. It has to do with legato playing, with phrasing, with the execution of grouping of motions or technical formulas. It affects the position of the hand, wrist, forearms, and upper arms, and it is like string players bowing and singers and wind player breathing. It is an extremely meaningful activity for pianists since the piano essentially is a percussion instrument and notes tends to sound isolated from one another. The grouping of notes is vitally important both musically and technically. The piano has another disadvantage compared to other instruments. Its tone disappeared rapidly. The volume of the note or chord can be crushingly loud at first impact, but soon it is barely audible. To connect notes that by their nature present of decrescendo, to shape melody lines, to sustain intensity, and to produce a series of sounds that we hear as one phrase is an art in itself. It consists of an easily executed set of motion patterns. Sorry guys, it's my rice cooker says that my rice is done. Okay, sorry. The grouping I mean here is the connection of several notes in one motion. Okay, then let's talk about the legato markings. Grouping is often indicated in the score either directly or indirectly. Most of the time, we see a slur, the slur, trying two or more notes together. Sometimes the word legato is written. Sometimes nothing is written, but we recognize easily the technical and musical groupings of the notes. Legato playing is one of the mysteries of piano playing. Almost everybody knows the object, but there are many theories about the best way to achieve the true legato. The mind, inspiration, and imagination have much to do with it, but the actual legato effect must be accomplished by physical means. By physical means, I don't mean by the fingers, and certainly not by the fingers alone. There's no way to play a real legato by the fingers alone. No matter how tightly one grips the key, trying not to release one note before the next is played, the imperfect legato results. First of all, it will be extremely difficult to control all the legato like this, with only your fingers connected. And actually, If one note is slightly overlap the next, this is how legato is attempted by many. A series of short dissonance results if it's a second interval like this. You see the dissonance? A real legato, a real grouping of notes, can be accomplished only by a unifying motion of the arm, forearm and upper arm. It's not about your individual finger motion to control exactly, but it's just your firm hands. And, you know, as I mentioned, the tendon and finger adjustment, and then just rolling by your hands. But then, the most importantly, your finger needs to be really firm. Even though you do all this motion, if your fingers kind of seems like jelly, it's not firm enough to hold, you know, it doesn't sound correctly. Okay. Listen very carefully here. This is very important technical concept of legato. When we see a slur or assume the presence of one, we begin the phrase with a relatively low wrist position and end it with a somewhat higher wrist. Start with lower wrist and then end with higher wrist. By low or high wrist, I imply a low or high forearm position that often involves the upper arm too. The fingers act in their usual manner. Let's take a group of 2 notes or a group of 3 notes and apply any kinds of fingering. Okay, for 2 notes group, one, two, two, three, three, four, four, five, even backward, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, or any possible combination like 5, 2, 1, 5, and 4, 2. Any kinds of 2, combination of 2 notes slur. Yeah, I often call this pattern 2 note slur. 2 note slur. It comes a lot in music. And it has 3 rules. It doesn't apply 100% in music, but I would say it applies most of the time. First, I just mentioned your wrist down and up motion. Down means drop by your hands by gravity, and up means literally up by your wrist. Drop and up, drop and up, drop and up. It is natural that when you have up motion of your wrist, your finger goes down, right? That is the energy to play the second note. You can think of that. I will demonstrate once more. I don't use my finger that like this, but just like this. And the second rule is usually first note loud and second note is soft. Di-ra, da-ra. And the third rule is first note is longer and the second note is shorter. However, as you do it with the right technical coordination, all three rules comes naturally. Down, up, down, up, down, up. But then it's loud, soft, loud, soft, and then long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short. So remember those three rules when you play two notes. It actually comes so many times. You know, I'm 100% that you have two notes in your music that you're learning right now. So think about it. All the motions of your arm and wrist look a little too big now. Look at this. You cannot have this big motion when you perform. As I mentioned a couple of times already, if you overdo it, it also causes another tension. So please be careful. I do it with big motion to show you how it really works now. So when you first get it, you should do it like with bigger motion. But when you get used to it, the motion must be reduced to its minimum. Okay, that's very important. Okay, for three notes group or more, regardless of which finger plays, always initiated the group with a relatively low wrist position and move gradually higher until the last notes of the group has been played. So for example, of the three notes group, you can actually do this. It's an extension of two notes slur. Extension of two notes slur. When you play C, D, E with your finger number 1, 2, 3, you can start the C with the lower wrist position with drop, and you finish the E with higher wrist position. In other words, up by your wrist. C with drop, and then E with up by your wrist. But the D, the note D is just the connection between those two, C and E. So I play one like this, but then D is between, just connection. You see? Exactly the same motion, but and then what about this? C, E, G. This whole time up, forward, down, up. Okay, last week we learned adjustment of your position by different finger on the key. Your thumb should be lower, and your pinky should be higher position when you play C, D, F, G. When your hands move to outside of your body, right hand goes to your right hand side, and then left hand goes to your left hand side, to opposite direction. Goes like this. The first rule works. So your thumb is the lower wrist and then getting higher. Thumb lower and the pinky is higher. Okay? But the other way around, when you come from outside to inside like this, the first rule doesn't work. It is exactly reversed. Your pinky start with lower position. When you go this way, inside, your pinky start with lower position and then your pinky start with lower position and then your thumb ends with higher position. If you remember this, when you go to this way, then when you go to this way, if you remember this, I think you're safe. When you start the phrase, lower wrist, and when you end the phrase, higher wrist. Then how do you know when the phrase will start? Look at the slur. Okay, the 5-finger exercise given here should make the fingers independent, not from the arm, but from each other, not from the arm. Your arm and finger is always connected, not this spider motion. It's not this spider motion, okay? By insisting on a specific position for each finger and collaboration with its equipment, we will establish conditions for each finger's independence and at the same time for being inter-independent with the arm. Therefore, these exercises are intended to activate the finger, not inspired of its mobilizers, but in conjunction with them. All the fingers should be lined up with their respective forearm muscles by using the adjusting motions. Okay, you can find 4 excerpts from Schoology as a homework, but I'm sharing now. Okay, here we go. The first one is when you see the first slur from the homework number 1, from slur from C to F, I would say it's a small phrase. So the phrase starts from C and ends with F. So your wrist lower at C and higher at F. So you see this arrow? This arrow. When you see this arrow down, it means lower wrist, and this is higher wrist. Arrow up. And next measure, arrow down means down up means bounce of your wrist. Bounce, bounce. And next measure, arrow down up. No. I will show you slowly how to do it. Homework number 1. Wrist from down. I start from lower as I go up, going up. And then next one is C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, C, right? This all slur, kind of long slur. So you can actually think this is this. But you know, there's a lot of notes between, right? One more time. Okay, next line, the first one is this. There are 2 notes, right? Okay, look at this. One more time. The third C, D, F, G, F is D, C. Okay, next one is okay. I'm going to play one more time. The second line, second one. Okay, and then the last one. Okay, the last one more time. After C, 2 notes left. Okay, and then that was homework number 1. Yeah, they are all same C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, C, total 5 of them, but in different notes grouping, right? Look very carefully when you play it, and there's 2 note slur, 3 note slur, 4 note slur, or 5 note slur. That means 2 notes grouping, 3 notes grouping. Whenever you start the group, your wrist lower, and then when you end it, it's higher. Like a reading. Okay, next one is from the beginning of the Bach Partita. You can actually disregard the letter of B and D in the excerpt. Look at the beginning. Yeah, you can find the music on Schoology, so I'm not gonna share it now. But look at the beginning. You have D, C, B, A, G. The scale. Okay, I'm going to play the second homework. The arrow down start and then arrow up later. Like a one motion. And then now measure 3. The scale, long scale down is one motion. Look at this. One more time. Down. Okay, that was partita number 5 in G major, prelude, the beginning. Okay, and then this is homework number 3, Beethoven Sonata, Opus 2, number 2, first movement, the beginning. So there's also the legatos. Look at this. And here. Down and up. And then next one. Okay, so you can just play the whole thing like this. Okay, you can play slower if you want. I played a lot slower too, but you know, to show you how the correct movement and coordination. Okay, next one is homework number 4, Beethoven Sonata Opus 40, number 2, third movement. It's a little complicated, but then, you know, let's do this. Down and up, down and up. You start with 3 notes left, right? Okay, take a look at this. Measure 1, 2, 3. Down, keep down. And then now up. That's one motion. And keep going. easy. And then keep going. One motion of the scale. Down and up. 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 Okay, it's all about little motions. Not finger motion. Okay, I'm going to play one more time. The whole thing of Beethoven. Okay. Okay, these 4 excerpts are the homework for next week. As same as always, you record yourself to play these excerpts and upload it. Due date is the next class, and here's your attendance questions. When you start the phrase in scales and arpeggios in slur, is your wrist lower position or higher position? Again, when you start the phrase in scales and arpeggios, is your wrist lower position or higher position? Okay, that's it for today. If you have any questions, you know I'm always here. So please send me the message and have another great week, guys. Bye.